What up, what up, what up? What is happening, good people? Welcome to this live edition of Herb and Two alongside the great Tucson Warner. My name is Herb Howard. This is where we get together and talk about issues that currently impact the black community. We talk about how those issues impact us as individuals and also how they impact us as a collective, and along with your help, we talk through these issues in hopes of finding the optimum solutions for how we can overcome said issues. Again, overcome them individually, but perhaps more importantly, at least for the sake of this conversation, overcome them as a collective. Thank you so very, very much for choosing to be a part of this conversation. As always, your input is valued and certainly appreciated. Anything you want to add to the conversation, feel free to do so. We will read through as many of your comments as possible while we go through the show. We would kindly request that you please take a quick second to share the broadcast, share it on your personal page, share it within your personal network, share it with anybody that you think would find value in or add value to this particular conversation. Also, make sure you subscribe to the page, hit the like button, and set the alert so you get reminders every time this page goes live. Again, this is Herb and Two. It is intellectual thuggery at its absolute finest. My name is Herb. His name is Two. Two. What's happening, good brother?
What's up, family? Happy to be here. I'm happy to be here.
I'm very happy to be here.
Very happy to be here.
This is my favorite part of the game.
We're a lot later than normal, but we want to provide you all with the best experience. So we wanted to have a feminine voice that we could add to this conversation, because I know that when we start having this conversation, it's going to be very hypercritical, and I know I have the tendency to step outside my body and say shit that people can't appreciate. So I'm going to try to control that today.
Here to bring said feminine voice and perspective, although some of your perspectives are gender neutral.
I would agree with that. That's PC. I like that.
Yeah, for sure. Mila
What up?
is here. She of Full Fest, she of Corner Convo, she of everything.
Yeah.
What's going on, Mila? How are you?
I'm doing good.
Environmentalist.
Yes, I am.
Man, what don't you do, Mila?
Give up.
My
Ooh,
nigga, I fuck with
I
that
like
answer.
that. That's good.
Oh, Larry.
That's good. That is very, very good.
Thank you
I
for having
really
me. It's been
appreciate
a while. It's
that.
been like, what, 2 years since I've been on set?
It's been a little minute since you came and chopped it up with us, man. We've been
y'all moving on up.
We've been feeling a little way.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, literally and figuratively, you know.
True. Well, I'm here to make amends.
No amends necessary. It's just nice to see you, man. I'm glad you've been doing everything you always have been doing, keeping your hands in everything, man. The third annual Full Fest.
Yes.
What was that, 2 weeks ago now?
It'll be 3 Saturdays ago coming up.
Okay.
Like, sometimes shy timeline is just like,
Yeah,
it happens. Let it go.
It goes. It comes and it goes. But yeah, man, super dope. You had us out there again. Thanks so much for the invitation.
Yeah.
We came out there, chopped it up. A lot of great people in the building.
It was a lot of land. It was beautiful weather. I think it shows that Chicago can come together.
Mm-hmm.
All of the people, like the first year, there was like, oh, you never gonna get folks to like collaborate and give. And I'm like, you can't get people to do that.
I saw Moores and Funky Town.
Yep.
I saw Herb and Two. I saw Corner Convo. I saw In the Zone podcast. Like, you know what I mean?
Easily
like
offended. Like that
Easily
picture right
Offended.
there
Yeah,
is like
that's a dope
iconic.
picture. That's gonna be classic.
Yeah. Like we are not like what people say we are. It's all love.
Yeah.
We're like, I feel like people are very different, but black businesses and creatives do need to come together.
Yeah.
I think many of us have intersecting lives, whether it's our kids go to the same school or, you know, like family members that rock with each other. That it's time to show what happens when we do it together. Pause.
Yeah. It's the right way to do it. That's the right way to, I mean, doing it by yourself can be fine, but doing it together is definitely the most efficient way.
No, we're better together.
And it's doable.
Yeah.
It's definitely doable. And to continue to build spaces where that is on display is dope and absolutely necessary. Cherie, what's going on, love? Great to see you checking in as always. Usually we start off with a little bit of banter about this, that, and the third. How was your weekend and all that? But let's just hop right into some of this stuff that's going on in this. In this,
it ain't going nowhere.
In this here country of ours, man. I think sometime last week, you know, you started to hear that President Biden was going to remove his name from the running for re-election. That became official, I think, Saturday or Sunday, when the actual official statement came out that he wasn't going to run. Then he endorsed Vice President Kamala Harris. Obviously a process that has to go for her to actually become the candidate for the Democratic Party. But just in general, like, this is unprecedented shit, right?
Yeah.
And like, it's just so much stuff going on. I feel like they gotta like battle for like to sensationalize on both sides. Oh, I got shot. Oh, I'm stepping down. Like, it's just back and forth. And I just wonder what y'all think about the just unprecedented times that we're living in, where you have in the middle of an election year. I mean, shit, what, we 4 months out for real? And this is the nature of what we're dealing with.
I'm reminded of the Shakespearean quote. All the world's a stage and every actor plays his part.
Hey, Mark.
For me, it's not as unprecedented as we like to assume it is. I think the only real unprecedented part is that there's a woman involved and she's kind of black. You know what I mean? But the conversation has happened before, right? We're approaching the DNC convention, which is going to be held in Chicago next month. The last time the DNC convention was here, it happened just like this, right? The presumptive nominee declined the nomination. They had to predict a had to nominate a new candidate. That new candidate was Kennedy, and he was murdered. You know what I mean? So it's not a new. Legitimately, it's like a rerun of the same movie in a lot of ways. You know what I mean? It's just the new actors.
To that point, and I'm sorry, because I do want to get your point, your thoughts on it too. But I was just watching a video from President Ford from 1989, and a young girl was in the crowd. She's like, "Yo, I want to be president one day." The very first thing he did was laugh, and then he was like, "Well, I would like to see that too." He was like, "I don't know when it'll happen." He's like, "But I'll tell you how it's gonna happen." And he said, one of the parties will nominate a man to be president, and he will have a female as his vice president.
Oh, and that will be the way.
And that will be the way forward. He said it won't happen any other way. He said that once it does happen, men should be worried because we probably never get back in the Oval again. But he said if it happens, he's like, that's the only way that it could happen. And you fast forward, 35 years now, and the man was pretty close to spot on.
Well, she hasn't gotten the nomination yet.
Sure.
Right? So you said something about like feeling like they're trying to one-up each other. A part of me feels like this is politics. And more than ever before, we're seeing it be so, I don't want to diminish the moments by saying entertaining, but these are classic moments that is getting people, even from our community, to pay attention in ways that they've never paid attention before. And so not only, like, we can't get folks to talk about clean water and like legislation and lobbying. Like,
why does that matter?
Boring. That is environmental justice. So what that our kids are dying at higher rates of asthma? We don't need trees. But they will tune in, and at the very least, I feel like that's what's happening. Hopefully we can get people to like stay on board no matter who's in office. That would be my wish. But I'm hearing people talk about policy and politics that have never uttered the words other than I don't vote. And for me, that's kind of exciting that we're getting people like at least interested.
I obviously need to change my rooms because I don't see that. Right? I think there is a different level of interest, but I do not hear it around civics. I hear it around the dramatics. I hear it around the theater. I hear it around, we got a chance to get a black woman. That's not policy, right?
Oh, just like the outside.
It's the theatrics of the moment.
Yeah.
It's the right. I'm a huge fan of podcasts. I'm a huge fan of YouTube. Just this morning, before I came here, well, shit, all day. I was on the bike, so I would ride the bike here, and I would be listening to YouTube podcasts or whatever. And I was listening to black-centered, black-focused podcasts this morning, and just all of a sudden, these commercials kept popping up, and everyone was, targeted. Kamala, DNC, targeted. And I was like, God damn, y'all never spend money here until it's this moment in time.
Oh, my
right?
God,
And the actual podcasts that you're advertising on do have conversations about you all, but in a very, very surface level way, because they can't have an in-depth conversation about y'all, right? The particular podcast that I was watching was speaking about the bald head girl,
Amber
Amber
Rose.
Rose,
Okay.
speaking at the RNC convention in Milwaukee last week. They couldn't get past how she looked. They
Let's
couldn't
stop
have a
right
more
there.
in-depth conversation of anything more than what she looked like. But if we're being very honest, what the else? What
gonna say-
else could she even offer?
Has there ever been a conversation about her other than how she looks?
But that's kind of my point, right?
But they can't make any
The-
type of political commentary about like what having this person or having this woman on RNC, what this means for. They couldn't discuss any of what Amber Rose represents. It's just
I think when they
superficial.
got to her looks,
Isn't that what
they
she represents?
absolutely had the political conversation because that's the only reason she's there.
Okay.
Even the powers that be know these is a very, very simple people. Give them some simple shit. Give them some
Shoes,
candy and keep them
Snickers.
shoes, Snickers.
You look at the ratings from anything else in our society. You look at the television ratings and what shows are doing. It ain't no secret. Ain't no secret why they keep coming out with a damn new reality show every time and just running the same script. Some people way too old to be fighting and throwing drinks and shit. Arguing about vagina and penis. Like it's just super surface level, low level bullshit. Comparing the size of people's houses, comparing people's wardrobes. That's what we are tuned into. So it shouldn't be surprising to us when they take that all the way to the top levels of our country and bring it into the political conversation and say, well, let's get Amber Rose up here. Who the fuck is Amber Rose? What has she ever done to qualify her to stand on a stage in front of millions of people and say anything other than wear this dress, wear these shoes, slut walk like this, slut walk like that?
And be clear, I don't want to make this an Amber Rose thing.
Oh, it's an American society
Because
thing.
Donald Trump wouldn't be there if that wasn't the order of the day.
Right. Because
Ronald Reagan wouldn't have been there if that wasn't the order of the day.
Mm-hmm.
So this ain't even new.
no. But after Amber Rose, did you see Hulk Hogan?
I didn't, but I heard about it.
Y'all ran Hulk Hogan up there. He go up on the stage. Somebody tried to kill my hero and I can't take it, and ripped his shirt open like he on fucking WWF. Yeah. Sir, this is the fucking presidential election for the United States of America and we have Hulk Hogan and Amber Rose. Fuck them two. What does that say about us?
Two brilliant people.
Obviously.
Obviously.
He's,
Obviously.
come on, man.
But
He's your hero. Both of y'all 90.
They both got the game figured out. They know much more than me. I'm not being facetious when I say two brilliant people, right? I don't know what skill set Amber Rose has, but she's obviously made it very far in life, further than I've made it.
Allegedly,
Yes,
Kamala
baby.
has a skill set that could get you to the oval.
Is that a shared skill set with her and Amber?
I think they might have a couple things in
Oh,
common.
y'all know something I don't know.
I don't know nothing. I'm just asking her questions. That's my whole goal today, is just to ask questions. and
I was
stay out
talking
the
to
way.
Judge Joe
Put your
Brown.
hands up. That's everything.
I was talking. I think it
wasn't me.
I think it was Sharice in the comments that said, a strategic shock value. I think Sharice is 100%. That's what they doing, but it works so well because that's what we all tied into
I
right
think
now.
that's the hard part about being in front of a camera, microphone, writing, anything. You see that there's this clear separation between the people that understand what do you do when you have the attention of your people, right? Like you do have a choice, as well as the people tuning in. And I protect that fiercely, right? So where I go, what I say, I'm always on brand because we do need our people having microphones, educating folks, helping people understand the difference between fact or fiction.
Sure.
I will not stop saying every image that comes across your timeline from here on out until the day you stop breathing, you need to discern, is this even real? Because the images can change from one post to another. The video can be inverted and you're so mindless that you move forward misinformation. And we are very simple, like Americans, people, like our social media doesn't necessarily improve our intelligence, even though we could choose to use it in that way. It's kind of scary times like that, which is one when I saw like who y'all wanted, I was like, is it arrogant for me to be like me? But then I realized like, no, I have to be very bold and courageous in saying like, I want to be a voice of accuracy, correct understanding. I want to be able to help people understand how to have conversations that are more valuable for our people, because your life is a reflection of the thoughts you hold on to and let go of.
Wow. See?
So the comments, right? But
Hello, Miss Ghetto God Diva. I don't know how you got that from what I said. I spoke about two people. I didn't speak about black women.
Oh, I know what
But okay.
Ms. Diva is referring to.
I know what she's referring to.
Okay,
I mentioned Amber Rose, and I mentioned a similar thing about Kamala Harris, but I was talking about two people.
But be clear,
Two people
right?
who
Be clear. When I put
barely
the
claim their
clarion
blackness.
call out for a voice, right? I already got attacked because I said I wanted a feminine voice. Obviously, I used the wrong language, I guess.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No. I said I must have because I got somebody had a problem with me asking for a feminine voice. I asked for a feminine voice that was articulate and had intellect. Right. That was the only requirement. You don't even have to be abreast of politics in regards to the conversation I want to have.
Okay. Just
Right?
the willingness.
Just
to
the willingness
engage on
to
a deeper
engage.
level.
That's all I really want, right? And again, getting back to Donald Trump, he wouldn't even exist if we were adept at politics. If I'm being very honest, neither would Joe Biden, right? If I'm being very honest, neither would Kamala Harris if we were adept to civics. Because be clear, black people elected Joe Biden. Black people elected Kamala Harris. They made her relevant, let's say that, right? Both have horrendous records in regards to black people. Even if we were really paying attention, the only reason Barack Obama picked Joe Biden because he was so racist that he needed him to balance off his blackness.
He had to have the far rightest Democrat.
Democrat I could find to balance off this black version.
So this is what I love about being over 40 in this era is I understand the dynamics of politics more than ever before. Like I see it. You know, like you learn the Constitution and like all of the things, but how it is that these parties put together their squad is quite intentional. And so when you look to see like who would be the VP of Kamala Harris, then it's like, okay, looking at their profiles, the types of policies that they're for, if they're like, you know, more conservative Democrats and how to balance out her platform. And then I think it was a really great line saying, can she recover what she would lose from Biden stepping out? Because he brought with him middle class, blue collar whites. So whoever she brings is going to have to bring in that group of people as well.
It's that balancing act that they got to find, right?
Yeah.
And then they go out and put on the show like, oh, we great friends and we're so aligned. And generally speaking, just because of the nature of how y'all need to balance each other out, the president and vice president usually aren't aligned. Right? Because what's the point of us being the same person?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes, we're not.
I got these people already. Who can get these people?
We need some breadth and depth.
Yeah, so like it's the irony of living in the information age, where in theory, whatever information you need is at the tip of your finger. But we act like we don't know this woman's record as a prosecutor, and we can't run down her record of what she's done specifically to black women. Like specifically to black women. Go to California and ask about her. You can find all this is public record. You can find this out. We all know what Biden is. We all know he locked up a generation. But you fast forward and it's like, oh no, I don't know nothing about that. She's great. She's the AKA. She got pearls and chucks and fuck her shoes and her necklace.
But one of the things I'm recognizing is that nuance is a skill of the intelligent. And it's very difficult to have counter ideas floating when people don't have nuance, because when you argue an idea, people take it as a personal attack, right? And I think there's a specific power dynamic that is happening, and it's the result of white supremacy in my mind too, right? That happens in context to what's the word I want to use here, man? It happens in context to the gender conversation that we have amongst ourselves, right? So when you start thinking about it, like you said, he chose Barack Obama chose Joe Biden because he was the furthest he could go down the line, to still maintain white maleness, right? Now Biden's record reflects that. It's clear. So even in the context of having a Kamala conversation, if you wanted to attack the politics of Kamala, you can't, right? Because we're not dealing in the conversation of civics anymore.
No.
We're dealing with
optics.
Popularity.
We're dealing with optics. We're dealing with identity politics. And the identity is black womanhood, but she's not even a black woman. There's air quotations, but she's kind of moved in this manner, but she's leveraged that as a cake to wear to get elected. And as soon as she gets elected, she speaks very openly about her Indianness. Before that, you don't even hear a conversation around me being an Indian. You know why? Because Indians represent 0.3% of the American population, and goddamn it, it ain't my moment to be Indian. I need to be a Negro to get this version of identity politics, right? So you
think mixed ancestry works against her, or that she knows
I don't even
how
know
to
if
use
it's
her?
mixed ancestry. I don't even think there's really a clear understanding of what she is, right? Because people like her dad's this, her mom's that.
She's of African descent. Is that fair?
Nigga, everybody on the planet is of African descent.
Okay, so just just language. If you don't want to call her a black woman, right? A person of color. Is she of African descent?
I can't say that specifically.
Well, so
she's of Indian descent.
Listen,
So
I think she's black. I think she's Indian. I think the issue is that she uses it to her
Fluidly?
advantage whenever she needs to, right? And she needs to it for sure each of the last 2 different 4-year terms.
So question,
let me say
isn't that
this.
politics though?
Well, let me say this.
Isn't
right?
that a part
That's
of
what politics has become.
Let's say
Yeah.
it is, right? But as participants, if we're not, again, like I said, nuance is a skill set
What's up, Catrice?
of the intelligent. If you're not intelligent, you don't know you're being used. And you're fighting and willing to die on a sword that you shouldn't be willing to die on. But when I call you on that sword, you're attacking me very differently than on the idea. You're attacking me based on gender bias in politics that I've not brought to the conversation.
But that's how it's interpreted once you start to.
That's how it's interpreted anytime you challenge the way they're leveraging identity in general. We are not in the realm of civics anymore. It's a fucking dramatization. It's a TV show. Do you like it? Or do you not like it? And if you don't like it, then you couldn't like me because I identify with this.
So do you think someone like Harris, who has a checkered political past with black women, can
And black men.
Okay, black people can recover and move forward in a positive way and go a complete 180? Do you think that's possible?
So
and has she
let
shown
me
it?
be clear. She's only had power in San Francisco. The VP, what are you really doing? I'm not being an asshole. He ain't die. We don't know what the fuck you'll do. But how you ran San Francisco, if that's the model, it's not in my benefit, right? But again, she's already used it to her benefit. It's already worked, right? There's the goddamn nomenclature of chucks and pearls that is out here because she was able to use it to her benefit, right? But what I was trying to get to, I don't want to jump over the goddamn wall, right? When we was questioning her blackness, which is not the conversation I necessarily got to have here, right? Although it speaks to the identity politics of it all.
Okay.
Right? Shout out to Booby. Booby is the homie. Booby's brilliant. Booby is a giant of a black woman. So I want to be clear, right? Booby came over here one day and she said something, and it's not even that it was new to me, it's just the way she articulated and it just stayed with me. And she was like, blackness is nothing if it's not a political declaration. That's all this shit is. So being from the diaspora don't fit my version of blackness. It can't. The diaspora ain't had our experience. And when we're dealing with our politics, you can't be of the experience. And
Fair.
for me to jump behind you. Because everybody who's a transplant to this experience really don't fuck with us. Because they come with a very colonized perspective of our experience.
Yeah.
Right? So, for me, that's a strike against your ass. It's not something I'm willing to jump behind. I got to figure your ass out. You ain't on my team because you dark-skinned motherfucker. I don't rock like that. Right? So back to the political declaration of blackness and whether she's black or not. We were just having a conversation off camera and I was like, I'm gonna ex her. She's a fucking boomer. I want just perspective. Perspective is a motherfucker, right? She's a boomer. She grew up in the wealthiest community in all of Canada. What motherfucking boomer you know? Negro boomer.
Negro, not a Negro.
Negro boomer, right? They got a fucking passport in 1940. Just that by itself. What nigga you know in 1940, American Negro, jumping on planes.
Talk about 1940. The woman ain't that old.
Boomer, I'm just saying the boomer generation.
I'm like, what, like, wait.
I'm being an asshole. I am. But just basic math, though.
I'm like, she black
right?
on crazy.
Basic math, though, right? Because
Right.
we have a tendency to look at the world through the lens of how we've experienced it.
True.
Right? But those were not boomer experiences. You wasn't getting on no fucking plane. You was lucky if you could ride down south on a train.
Yeah.
And you damn sure wasn't going to live in the wealthiest community in Canada. And she didn't come back from that until Howard. Your whole experience has been ingratiated in a very Indian-esque experience. Very similar to Barack Obama, which is hindsight is 2020. So you come back to the Barack Obama conversation with some questions because you was voting on, well, that's a fly nigga. Well, he ain't necessarily us. And we're going to do this. We're making the same mistake. And now, again, I don't know if it's the mistake or not, because I'm not voting for Trump. I'm not doing that. And I know we jump the wall all the time, right? I'm just trying to have an understanding of how the politics of identity informs how we deal in our politics, but we don't even have an identity. And then when you challenge that shit, it becomes a challenge of our totality, of our confused identity. This shit is crazy.
I think that, like, there are so many things in the way of the actual issues that we get just bogged down on all of it, right? The presentation, the theatrics, the identity politics, all of it, right? And
the lack of historical context.
The lack of historical context, for sure.
The lack of geographical context, because when you're not even aware of your own state politics, it's very, how do you even build a relationship with understanding what that means in other systems, other states, other counties? It's a lot to process.
Yeah, no, 100%. And Gen X is referencing more of Kamala's record. But like, I just think that when you get to some of these things, it gets hard to get kind of through the minutia of it all, right? And I think that when you have people like us here having this conversation, everybody that's watching, these are people who tend to be more informed, right?
Right.
And because we are more informed, I think it can almost be a hindrance, because we like, all of this shit is goofy as fuck to us, right? So we see the Amber Rose and the Hulk Hogan, we're like, that can't fucking matter. That has to be fucking stupid. Y'all gotta be playing with me, right? We living in a fucking matrix or some shit. But the masses, comparatively uninformed, that's exactly how you reach them.
Yeah. I mean, we see it happen here in Cook County and Chicago, right? You get a celebrity, you get somebody with a little bit of swag, you want to run for office. If you're trying to get people to come out, you use that person to carry your message. Like, this is par for the course. We're not that unfamiliar with it. I'm curious if this is going to bring more people out to vote, because that's definitely something that's an issue in our community. And then how do we talk about it? So what I have noticed, and it's really unfortunate, even discussing politics with people has gotten to a point where it breaks down and people don't even want to be friends no more. Mm-hmm. Like, we can't even share or ask questions. It's very volatile, mm-hmm. and it can push people away from wanting to talk about politics if you don't really understand how to have the conversation in a way that still protects, the relationship of the people, mm-hmm. Of the person that you respect. And there are not many opportunities to even learn as an adult how to do that. Where in our lives is it low-hanging fruit to have a conversation about your politics, your political identity, what you understand, what party you feel most aligned to, understanding what it means when you vote in conflict at certain levels? I don't necessarily know when or how we even mature into these, into these understandings. I asked Atiba, I'm on VON every Wednesday, and I'm like, yo, how did you learn about your political affiliation? Mm-hmm. Did you talk to people? Did you read? And he was really insightful and kind of encouraging me, like, you got to watch where you get your information from. You do have to be careful about who you disclose your personal opinions and views to, because that, you just saying, I don't know, or I'm unsure, could be the reason why somebody writes you off, calls you out your name.
But fuck that. we can't be cowards.
Oh yeah, I'm not. That's why I'm here.
Right, and I think it's very necessary to have these conversations publicly and challenge what we recognize as bullshit. We have to, because if we don't, we just drown in bullshit, and that's been our history. That's the trajectory we're on, right? So, example, and again, for me, this ain't a political conversation. This is an identity conversation, and why we can't challenge it. Right? We could go from whether it be gender-based, we could go whether it be sex-based, because even around the LGBTQIEA, whatever the acronym is, because I don't know it by heart, I'm sorry, right? But if I have a difference of opinion, my difference of opinion comes off as anti this whole community, right? We had a sit down with some at the Full Fest, right? And we was interviewing some people who I know were of that community. I don't give a shit if you're of that community, but they've heard my perspectives on here, and they've put me into the anti-homosexual category, right? Context is a motherfucker. We put a clip out the other day, and the clip sounds like some real bootstrap, pull yourself up from your bootstrap self type of shit. And the clip damn near went viral. I know goddamn well if that clip went for another 15 seconds, nobody would fuck with nothing I had to say. And it was just, that dynamic is very interesting to me. I said all the words that get said. It went viral because the clip stopped.
Yeah.
If you'd have listened to the next 15 seconds of this conversation, you would have been like, fuck dude. You understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Fuck dude in totality. And it's amazing to me, like, we get our intellect from 15, 20, 30-second clips.
Don't get me started on the
and it
clips.
Becomes the definitive of identity, and motherfuckers who study shit get rejected because they don't have the platforms, i.e. back to Amber fucking Rose. Mm-hmm. You don't know shit. You publicly come out and said, I'm not black. This is Amber Rose. But the goddamn RNC is smart enough to know, it don't matter. So Kamala can come out and say, I'm an Indian.
You're in black culture.
The DNC can say, it don't matter. And we so stupid, we like, you're right.
You're in black culture.
You're in black culture, which is what? I push back against hip hop calling itself the culture. That ain't my fucking culture. Right? But because we haven't crafted and mastered our identity, this is how this shit seeps in and breaks apart our communities.
When you say our identity, what you're referring to black Americans, right?
Yeah, black Americans.
In your opinion, what would be a shared political interest of black Americans or black
reparations is one for sure.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
Necessary.
Paramount in my mind.
Okay.
Right? Employment could be paramount. Because we can look at the records. You're not there, nigga. Education could be paramount. We in this city right now. You got children, I got children. Right? Our children specifically, I don't know what all your kids, but I know one of them went to Kenwood, at least one of mine goes to Kenwood. Mm-hmm. Right? Great example. I'm going to give you a great example. My other child went to Diet. Right? Mm-hmm. Based on the design and the dynamic of city and city government. Right? Mm-hmm. When we talk about education. I'm going to play this out into the context of the Venezuelan immigrants that we have here. My son went to Diet, right? Now, there's a lot wrapped into that Diet conversation because he was a star athlete and he ended up going out of town first. But based on the Diet, some of the shit didn't work out of town, but based on the school calendar, when he came back, he didn't have the option to just go. He had to go to his neighborhood school, mm-hmm. which happened to be Diet. No disrespect to Diet, but I paid for private school all of their lives because I do not fuck with the education coming up out of our neighborhood schools. I know it's failing you. I know it's failing you, right? And because of the politics of our city, right? You either test in or you live in or you move the needle how you got to move the fucking needle. We allow it to ride.
We allow it to ride.
Right? The top tier schools, even the public ones in this city, are dominant white. Yeah. Even though the city is not dominant white, the math of that does not make no fucking logical sense, right? Winnie Young's a white school today. Yep. Peyton is a white school today. That's not logical when we make up 60 to 7, and we didn't even count the Hispanics, percentage of the population who attends these places. It's not a logical conversation, but we accept it. I'm just getting to the Kenwood point, though. I ended up getting my daughter in Kenwood, which was a feat. because I'm on this side of Drexel.
Yeah.
I'm one block off Drexel. Matter of fact, if I lived on the west side of the street of Drexel,
in.
I would. If I lived on the west side of the street of Drexel, I'm not in. It
Oh.
ends on the east side of the fucking street.
Boundaries.
Right? My niece lives on Drexel. She can look out her window and look at King. Died is her neighborhood school. That's not logical. You know what I mean? But that's a political conversation. Getting back to these Venezuelans. I couldn't get my son in that school. Today, a third of that population is Venezuelan. What? And we're accepting of everything. Right? Because these Venezuelans don't even have to look back to the design and the politics behind these things. From my understanding, right? You can go from 0 to senior year in high school as an immigrant student,
Yes.
not learning English,
Mm-hmm.
and still get passed through at a C level.
Yeah.
My son, back to even, this is a reparations conversation in my opinion. My son, maybe he's a struggling student, maybe. Let's say maybe. Why don't he get that same benefit of the doubt? Because if you graduated with a 2.5, you're still eligible for every fucking scholarship available. But if you don't, what the fuck happens?
Right.
I don't even
No
know where to
access
start
points.
there. One reason why I didn't buy a house or try and buy a house was so that I could be mobile and put my kids in a school that was a high-performing neighborhood school. That's how we ended up. My kids went to the school over in historic Pullman, went to Pullman, left there, went to Gillespie on 95th, left there, ended up at Haight Elementary on the north side of the city, 27 languages spoken. It wasn't a turnaround school. They didn't have like safe passage. I was like, I need a school with no safe passage. It was there on the north side that I understood how to advocate and engage at a local level. I ran for the local school council. I reorganized my life, right? And I realized poverty looks different on us than it does on other people, like in other communities. Like living in a mixed cultural community on the north side, it was wild. You have less than me, but looking at how they learn together, how they advocate, take advantage of the resources, I was like, I needed to see that so that I can practice that in and of my own self. I realized for our community, we are getting information and there's so many different ways that we can speak up and speak out that it can get confusing. I realize that many of us are overworked and we're selling so many hours, and the way in which we can engage is a mismatch. Like when Park District pulled up to make that new sand dunes for birds on maybe 57th, and people woke up like, what just happened? You took away our beach? It was for sand retention. Legitimate for logistics, but they had like the community meeting on like a Sunday.
Oh yeah.
Right? So there are things that are happening in government,
or they'll
local,
do it on
county.
Tuesday at 10 a.m.
Yeah, and we don't even know what's happening because of one, what we are tuned into and the information that's moving through. So that's why I ended up, writing, because I'm like, all right, if we control our narrative more than ever before, I have not seen this much black media ever in my life, right? Whether it's podcasts or audio or people putting out books and people doing, we are creating more than ever before, but are we giving information that is valuable, that once you finish that recording, once you finish that article or that blog or that podcast, you've leveled up in some area of your life?
If we were creating on that level, we wouldn't get the sales pitches that we do, right? We know marketing and advertising and what it does, right? People spend a lot of time and energy in their studies and their graphics and charts to figure out, okay, how do I go at this particular demographic?
How do I get them to do this?
If this is the sale pitch that they're making, that means this is what they think we're tuned into, and I don't think they're fucking wrong.
That's what I was about to say.
I don't disagree.
Right? It's a lot of media, but it's all very, very low vibrational. Right? It's very low vibrational, and the struggle becomes to compete in the market. I said the other day on here is that we're just a very unserious people.
What up, Shannon?
Right? You said we're unserious people?
We're unserious. We're very unserious people. And that's new for us because we've not had the option to be unserious.
I think that's fair.
Right?
I've never thought of it that way, but I can see that.
We've not had the option to be unserious, right? The politics of America rests on the backs of black people and always have since its inception.
So is this what freedom looks like?
No.
Freedom to choose
This
against.
is what being manipulated looks like.
Okay.
It's not freedom. It's the flawed idea, the flawed version of freedom.
So we are not seeing black
Africa
free will.
being huts and flies, right?
Okay.
Keep you away from that concept because we don't never want you to have any value in that, right? So you get black pundits saying there's nothing better than this. Bullshit. It's a lot better than this. But because we can't expand past the borders of the idea, right? My father used to have this statement. He used to say, too, black kids don't get stupid till they go to school. Right? And for me, what that does is it puts the emphasis on how deep the manipulation goes. Right? How in order to rise above, in order to seek freedom, then you damn near have to let go of all that America has taught you about you.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Right? A minute ago you said if it just brings us out to vote, then that's a positive. Well, again, back to understanding the data. We voted at a higher clip than any other community in America. Think about the narrative around black people and voting. Per capita, we vote more than any fucking body else.
So scale matters.
Think about the narrative of black people in voting.
Yeah, scale matters, right? Like when we're talking about nationwide, yes. And then when you get to local politics and those elections, totally different. But I don't disagree with you.
Right. But if we just pull back the data just a little bit, right? And in context to our history, what voting means for us, which is why we participate in the way we participate. We do participate, but the narrative's coming out of our mouths, coming out of the media mouths. We ain't engaged.
So what you just said, our mouths, like that's we perpetuate this anecdotal information. Like I said.
Yeah.
I remember like pushing back on higher education and supporting HBCUs, minority serving institutions, and alumni giving back, right? Because when a school is about to close down, lose accreditation, feels like Black America jumps on like you need to be doing better. And then I had to look up the facts. Black alumni give at higher rates, longer duration than any other ethnic group to their university. Mm-hmm. So I had to step back and be like, okay, how did I even come up with that we don't support?
Right.
Is it because I don't send in my alumni dues?
Right.
Right, like that's what I see. So I think that everybody else is doing that. So
yeah, but
we gotta know.
Same conversation around fatherhood.
Yeah.
Right. We had this conversation around black fatherhood and black fathers' involvement. Think about the narrative that exists around black parenting. Mm-hmm. Right. But then a couple years ago, some white group gives you a data study and niggas is having a different perspective. Right. But we don't got to have a data study. Let's look at the math of our lives. Right. This goes back to how the system works. Right. In order to keep us dysfunctional, this is just the truth, they have to empower y'all. They have to create the separation between you and me. And in most instances, what's that leave? The boy who's not having much activity in life. He got to be the most involved parent because the mama the one making the goddamn money. That's why our community is a matriarchy. He got to be involved. It's just the basic math of being us. So you ain't abandoning them babies the way the narrative is being shaped. It's not even possible. Because you can't afford daycare. So somebody watching this kid. It's just basic math.
What do you mean? Who you think watching them?
The daddy. Or somebody daddy.
So you gotta be either really, really poor or really, really rich. Like middle class families, yes. But those of us who if you are making pennies, resources come out of nowhere. I think that was like a slap in the face for me. I got pregnant with my first child. I had to drop out of Columbia because I couldn't afford film school. As soon as I got pregnant, school taken care of, I had, Action for Children, had daycare out the wazoo. The only thing I had to do was stay poor. Stay poor, stay with poor people, don't make any more money, don't go, no more child support. Like you stay in that sweet spot. Mm-hmm. And that was kind of hard to acknowledge, like, oh, this is how we get stuck in this place of you stay over there because you're going to compromise the convenience of my poverty, right? Like it's very easy. It's easy and hard, right? Like got a cousin, multiple children, pays for nothing, right? $7,000 in resources a month, whether it's food stamps, medical. doesn't have to pay for any surgeries, nothing. There's no incentive for her to increase her household income because she could never earn that income with another partner in the duration of 30 days that they would kick her off if she were to make more money.
Right.
So we have I understand what you say, like the empowerment of women, like how to keep us dysfunctional, but I think it happens on both sides. Both of us have to be complicit in some way.
I don't disagree.
Right?
I stand on that too.
I will take full accountability for how it is that I have seen or devalue the presence of black men in my life. Take full accountability for that. Some of it was narratives that were given to me, people that have had bad relationships, people that have never worked favorably with black men, anecdotal. I take it as my own and I perpetuate it. And it took for me to be around black men, right? Like it really wasn't until I was on a podcast that I'm spending time with black men that I'm not dating. It's not romantic, it's not familial, just in conversation, watching how you all move, how ideas move between you, your politics, how you hear and listen and see. Mind blown. I'm still mind blown.
Can I say this real quick? The greatest complicity, though, in my opinion, is us not identifying who we are through the lens of us, right? So as long as we have to access this system, they are defining us. Just like you said, I got to be really, really poor and stay poor to get access to said system. Well, then essentially the system is defining your value.
Right.
Right? And as long as that exists, you're right, we're both complicit because we're still sucking on the nipple of the oppressor. So when we look at the Kamala conversation, and again, I said this is an identity conversation to me. It's not a politics conversation to me. But Kamala just happens to be in the world of politics, right? But as long as we're sucking on the nipple of that, instead of creating our own identity, we have to align with what Massa say. So this third political party over here, or any other candidate that steps out the fray of what Massa say we got to choose from, that's not even feasible.
But I think that's the impact of the American experiment, right? You come out of slavery, and all we do is instantly try to run and chase what we think what we feel to be 200 years behind. We ain't never wanted to do this bullshit y'all doing anyway. That was never our shit. But once we come out, we're like, okay, let's go chase this. And then once you chasing something that somebody else is already in control of, then not only do they set the game, they set the rules, but they set the narratives for the game too. And then those things get spread out and we begin to perpetuate them on our own damn selves.
And then they play out in our households.
And then it plays out in our household. But look, it don't even have to be true though for us to spread the fucking narrative, right? So last year or so, it was this huge conversation across, all different podcasts and platforms is black men don't protect black women. And so we had the conversation several times here with a lot of different women. And they would say the same thing. Black men don't protect black women. And we're like, okay. And we ask them just simple questions. Do the black men in your life protect you? Hell yeah, my daddy will pull up and send his bitch up. My man will pull up and do, my brothers do. And who you talking about?
Right.
If you just went down the whole list of the black men in your life, and you said they'll all pull up for you at the drop of a hat. Who are you talking about?
Unless,
and why are you spreading a narrative that's not even your personal experience? And I'm not trying to excuse the incidents where it does happen, but I'm talking about the larger population. I'm not talking about the exceptions. I'm talking about the rule. You know what I mean? Sure, there's some ain't shit ass niggas that don't protect black women or even harm black women. Sure, that exists, right? But I'm talking about on the whole, by and large, most black women could call the black men in their life and be like, I'm in distress, help me, and they gonna pull up.
True. So we had that conversation too, and I'm always interested in like how do you separate from the personal to broader scale conversation of are we talking about politically protect, right? Are we talking about showing up in instances in industries or sectors where black men, I love that. Like what are we talking about? Because two things can be true, right? Like you can have an example of, look, we need brothers to make sure that black maternal death in the hospital is unacceptable, right?
Third world rates and lower.
Is that an agenda item in a black man's politics? Is it in his ecosystem?
We've had that conversation a bunch of times.
So when I think about protect black women. It's understanding how to leverage our issues and bring it forward. But then I had to admit that my top 10 issues of blackness were mostly because of my gender, and I didn't know anything, nothing about what kills black men at higher rates. I didn't understand where black men live. I didn't understand how much money you all made. Like, I pushed back on, like, this woman was like, oh, if you are a 40-year-old man and you're only making $18 an hour, something's wrong with you. And I was like, well, is it? Because when I looked to see the average income of African American men, it's about $12, $13 an hour across the board. It goes up a little bit to 40 or 50, and then 60 it drops back down to 13. So if we really wanted to protect black men and also protect ourselves, then we are for fair wage, working wage. We are for, you know, employment that people can actually take care of a family. But that wasn't a part of my political ecosystem for black men because I was consumed by my own identity.
Everybody is limited in their capacity to protect by what they're capable of, right? So if we talk about, you just ran down those economic statistics, right? And then we use that same data and say, well, protection also looks like provision and security, right? Well, you just told me we ain't capable of protecting you like that.
At all. Like not, and that's like light bulb.
So now is that why you say we don't protect black women?
Wait, now we gotta ask another
We talk about it in politics. Where we at in that?
No, stop right there, Herb. You just said some shit that was brilliant. Right, now we have to ask another fucking question, which lends to the stop sucking at the nipple of whiteness. Because this is the definitive through their lens. This is the definitive through their narrative and their experience. You don't have that experience. You cannot play by that rule. This is the Kevin Samuels conversation.
Yeah,
right?
I was like,
and I don't even agree with Kevin Samuels. Right? But the reason why he becomes popular is because what he does is expose the truth through the lens of whiteness and then say, but you don't meet the standard either, woman. That's all the fuck he did, was take whiteness as a standard and say, here's our truth. Shut the fuck up, lady. Now, the problem I have with Kevin Samuels is, what he doesn't expose is, what is the different value structure that we should have for ourselves?
Oh, he doesn't take it that next.
It's this next step. It's letting go of that, but still creating this. But it plays out everywhere, which is why you can't have the conversation of Kamala's value, which is why you can't have the conversation of Barack's value. It's why you can't have the conversation and say Deion Sanders is a bitch-ass nigga. Because it's all the same to me. So there's going to be a whole quadrant of people who's going to support Deion Sanders because he's operating off the standard of whiteness and we desire it so fucking much. But he used it like Kamala Harris used blackness too. He put poor blackness as a cape to get where the fuck he want to go and then exposed it as not valuable. Miss the motherfuck out of me in totality. So it's not a man-woman conversation, it's an identity conversation. But when we tend to have it with y'all, it goes directly to gender biases,
it becomes
misogyny,
personal,
right? But then we have to put in perspective too of what our community looks like. We live in a matriarchy. We being us two, women and men, being at the bottom of the black, albeit the American social class. Y'all are only above us. Y'all ain't above no fucking body else, just us.
I feel like as long as you're above, anybody above y'all is having a good day, right? Like that's kind of like how it kind of plays out.
There's a power dynamic that plays out there, right? So the minute it's the LGBTQ shit too, right? You say something bad about them, well, get rid of this motherfucker. We can't even pull our shit back together because the minute, again, nuance is only a skill of the intelligent. So if I have a disagreement with an idea, I ain't gotta have a disagreement with you. But because of the way the power dynamic works, it's the white woman in the goddamn forest preserve telling the black man, help, help, help. He's no, woman, I'm trying to get the fuck away from you.
Right.
But I know that my whiteness is powerful. And all I got to do is holler. And y'all use it against us in the same way.
Oh, yeah.
I was trying to go back to just the comments that I received from just posting a picture of Cornel West.
I'm loving the comments today too, y'all. Appreciate all y'all in the chat.
What's wrong with this photo?
Nothing. I didn't even. I know I'm an asshole, right? I do shit to antagonise people.
Did you throw it?
I do antagonize people on purpose. I do
okay,
it right.
all right.
Because I love it. I just love it.
You live for it.
It's in me, right?
Right.
So Biden says, "Hey man, I ain't fucking with this no more." I put up a picture of Cornel West.
Okay.
I didn't even say anything. I didn't make one statement. I went to write some shit. That's it. None of the right shit.
No cap.
I didn't shit. I just put a picture of Cornel West up, and immediately the comments start rolling. Oh, you got a daughter. The nerve of you to you gonna waste this vote on him, and Trump is gonna get all kind of shit. I ain't said a goddamn thing but put a picture of Cornel West up, right?
Man, I got called all sorts of. It wasn't a picture, but Cornel West and Candace Owens had that sit down. This was the conversation I didn't know I needed to see. Right, like two generations, two different genders, two different, ways of seeing the world, both black. And
Allegedly.
I was like, I enjoyed watching us be completely different and still talk about the ideas, talk about the things we don't agree on. It didn't turn personal, right? You didn't get distracted by I don't know how to defend my argument. Or I'm much more ignorant on the
let me attack you as a person.
Let me just go at you. Well, you're saying this because you're a this or a that. And as a woman talking politics, or even kind of being a little bit more vocal, especially with anything dealing with gender, what I've realized is I have to be very cognizant when listening and sharing with men. Most often, you all have been in conversations with black women that have different ways of listening and sharing that isn't very equal. And so even if I am being fair and equal and I am, respectful, and it's not so immediately picked up like, oh, she's just having a conversation, right? We don't get the opportunity to really practice. But I also think that not a lot of people know how to go underneath the surface, because under there it's scary. Under the surface is you don't know shit about your own politics. You are a walking conflict. You are a hypocrite. Like, it is not easy to deal with. This is what I like to do and this is what I like to receive. I know it hurts you. I don't even know how to say that out loud. We do have competing politics between us, our genders, our age, all of those things. I do not know if we are comfortable enough, even though we're operating in whiteness, we're not that comfortable where we're like, claiming it and wearing it, and willing to ostracize everybody else in our community to say, as long as I get what I want, I'm okay with you being under me.
No, that's 100%. I mean, it's a bully mentality. You see it in classrooms all across the country, right? Maybe I ain't the most popular kid. I ain't the prettiest girl. I ain't the best athlete. I ain't this, that, and the third. But I ain't the motherfucker they throwing paper at.
Yeah.
And so I'll get away from him. Matter of fact, give me a piece of paper. I'm gonna throw it at his ass too, right? I don't got no problem with him for real. You know what I mean? I'm just trying not to be on the other side of them. So let me go do the same shit they own. It's like, nah, it's fear-based. All of this shit is fear-based. That's why when you merely put up a picture of Cornel West, I was like, Trump gonna be in office. I ain't said shit. All I said was, they're going to picture of the person that's being bullied. And you like, oh no, the jock's gonna beat your ass. Nobody said shit about them. You know what I'm saying? Like, ain't nobody said shit about them. But it's fear-based. It's an inability to see yourself as a leader. It's an inability to put yourself in the powerful position to say, I can dictate the terms and the outcomes here.
You can't even imagine yourself.
You can't imagine it. You can't imagine it. And that's why I was saying it's remnants of the very inception of the American experiment, because we came out of it with no imagination for what the fuck we could do. It was just like, wait, what? We can lead this? We can walk out this plantation now? Okay, and do what? What y'all been doing? And we try to do that. We never wanted to do that shit in the fucking first place. You know what I mean? But there's no imagination. That's stripped of you. You know what I mean? That's stripped of you. You don't have no imagination.
You can't fantasize all of the foul things that can happen. Got into a...
Oh, that's easy.
It wasn't an argument, because the dude, he was so obsessed with Trump rhetoric and Project 2025, and he was just going in and asking me questions but not letting me answer. So then I just kind of politely interrupted. I said, hey, it sounds like you really want me to just listen to you. And I said, I have no problem just doing that. And he said, well, when he gets in office, I said, oh, you're voting for him? And he was like, no, but he's going to get there. So you've already forfeited any engagement to stop it. You have given him the win, but you won't talk to me about how to stop him from winning. There's no conversation on the politics of another candidate that you want to feed or nourish me with. You just want to pass the shit sandwich on I want to hate somebody and I want you to hate them so we can go back and forth for an hour on. I would rather go back and forth on an hour on tell me what I need to be on. Introduce me to something new. Help turn my attention.
What does this look like? Right.
And this is how I live. I'm not going to belabor. Yeah, you need to know what not to do, but I'm going to give you 5 times more of the things to do to turn your attention to, and not just feed you all of the other things to keep you obsessed with.
So in that vein, that's why this moment in time is so very important to us, right? This is why we have to get away from the identity struggles that we have and create something in this moment in time. It's not just Project 2025, right? People are talking about Project 2025 like, ooh, it's the boogeyman. That shit been implemented since post-Reagan.
This is not new.
Like, this ain't none of this shit new. Y'all just getting informed, right? Now, what is new, though, is that we're walking into the 4th economic revolution of America, which does not include a workforce. Right? And you have never been invited here for any other reason other than servitude. And when they don't have any value for you, you will become the same niggas that got off that boat in 1619. And they've proven it over and over again. This is why whatever that white nationalist group was in Tennessee marched last week. I posted a video from Tennessee this morning. There's another white nationalist group there talking to young black boys on the corner. Like, get your little nigga ass off the corner. This is open air, downtown Nashville, Tennessee, right? We know what Chicago is. We know that this is the most segregated city in America. But do we know why? It's all by design.
Yeah.
Right?
They keep us
all
sick.
of it is by design. The fact that we have a less than 2% populace in the private working sector of America is by design, right? So the only motherfuckers that's not playing for power here is us, and we got to get off identity and start playing for power. So even to the point of Kamala and her real identity, right, which is Indian in my opinion, right, because otherwise you wouldn't have been in Canada in 1942, right? It just it don't work that way. You understand what I'm saying? Don't care what kind of math you're doing. My dad was born in 44. That nigga didn't leave here to Vietnam. That was the first time he got to play. You understand me?
Yes.
You ain't invited, my nigga. It just don't work that way, right?
That's real.
And I'm being facetious and funny, but
No, that's real,
I'm dead
though.
ass at the same time.
Yeah.
Right? First time you can fly is when I want to kill you. Get your ass over here to Vietnam. You know what I mean? But Indians represent 3% of the American population. But they're also the highest earners on American soil. They've been growing a power base since 1965, right? As so every other immigrant group, right? They really, again, pre-1965, it was niggas and white folks, right? Post-1965, it's everybody else is welcome, right? All of them have been growing economic power bases, even though they don't have the strength of the populace. Because government is the engine that dominates and controls business, they do have a value in it. But they never publicly played until this moment in time. We can get to Kamala Harris, if she's just part Indian, she's this is the biggest part of her, right? Trump, the other day, just picked J.D. Vance as his running mate from Ohio. Well, he's married to an Indian, right? Be clear, but who's Kamala married to, too? She's married to a Zionist Jew. Pay attention. This is all part of these conversations, right? Think about that connectivity just to Indian culture. Outside of J.D. Vance, outside of Kamala Harris, this election cycle right now that we're in have 6 Indian candidates. How the fuck is that plausible in a country with less than 3% population of Indians?
Power base.
Power. They've already made their move. Now, the only power we've ever had, because it ain't never been economic, it's the actual fact that we are citizens.
Yeah.
That's our fucking power. But if you don't have a unified push, then you don't have that has no power.
Yeah.
Right? So in a world where we're about to lose the servitude button, and that's the server is the bottom nigga.
Mm-hmm.
In a world where we don't need the bottom nigga no more, right? We're arguing about Indian identity defining us.
Yeah,
That's insane to me.
We argue about a lot of shit. Like we talk about the immigrants coming over here in Chicago and they dropping them off by the busloads and they giving them resources and housing and cars and all this other shit, right? But the vast majority of them coming from Texas in terms of the busloads, right? Well, you got governor in Texas fucking with Trump. You got Trump understanding the political landscape. I'm going to need the black vote. Where's the largest concentration of black people in this fucking country?
Chicago.
In Cook County.
No.
The largest concentration.
Well,
of black
so
people?
the county with the largest number of African Americans in a single county is Cook County. The state with the largest population of blacks is Texas.
Well, that's because Texas is 3 countries long.
No, it is Texas.
Yeah.
Texas is number one.
It ain't big. Mississippi ain't big enough.
Black people make up 14% of Texas, right? The reason why I know this, I just wrote an article on.
And 14% of the state of Texas is bigger than Mississippi.
It's big sale, right? So black folks are moving down there because of cost of living, right? But only 40% of black folks own a property, so 60% are renters. So there's severe housing insecurity as well as there's still segregation, right? So we are leaving. Like black people are leaving the Midwest at high numbers, and the 2 states that we're going to is Texas and Arizona, which is unfortunate. I'm like, why would you go anywhere where you're not going to have water? And so Texas also is really volatile. They have the highest number of power outages of any state in the country.
Yeah.
And so if you
just had a long one for like a week.
Yeah, which was
I know it was a hurricane,
story,
but still like
right. Like our value, what I've seen, our value is being poor and taking the L. So if you look at like in Chicago, 60% of industry is located on the southeast side of Chicago.
They're replacing you with somebody else to do that for you here now.
And so they will push you further and further away from state and county resources. Chicago has lost 30% of the black population for the past 10 years. So every 10 years, we're losing 10%. Now, if a black person leaves Chicago and stays in Illinois, they stay in Cook County. Right, so we're still in Cook County. If you leave Cook County, you're leaving Illinois. 7 out of 10 black people in the state of Illinois live in one county.
Yeah.
So we don't even understand the politics of the state we live in because we're so concentrated in one county that we don't even know why it is that people are voting.
This state red as hell south of I-80.
Cook County is blue. Like everybody else is like we're basically.
I lived in Central Illinois and I lived in Southern Illinois.
Yeah, and we don't even.
About that. But even with that, we still dominate the politics of the state.
Absolutely,
but
we don't care about how the politics are around the state. Example: Centerville, Cahokia Heights, was the poorest city in America. It's like 19,000 cities in America. Here we are, Chicago, with our nose stuck up in the air. We so dope. Everything dope comes from Chicago.
Shout out to Dillard.
They're flooding. They're
well.
flooding with human waste for 40 years. Our people, and we here talking about how dope we are, right? Like we don't know. I asked someone, I said, how many black mayors do we have in Illinois? How many black towns? Over 30%. How many? 3, 4? Think like 25. Think like 30. So you don't even know the black mayors that exist in Cook County.
It's a lot of them too. I used to host a radio show on VON called the Southland Report, and all I did was talk about politics and just shit that was going on in the Southland. And so I would have all the mayors rotate through my show, and I was like, damn, all y'all black.
This is where our power is, but we don't understand. So here in Chicago, it's going to take some allyship to get something moved in this city because we are not 50%. So I'm at the county level.
Push back a little bit.
On which part?
Right. Only in the context of you like we are in Chicago, arrogant. You know everything dope from Chicago comes from. I mean everything dope in America comes from Chicago. I think that arrogance is really a reflection of our ignorance, right?
I don't agree.
I'm only pushing back in the sense of saying that we might be able to elect, but we do not engage civically. So even when we control Cook County, we don't get the resources of the government that we elect.
No, we don't.
Right? And it's a black electorate. We don't even ask them for shit.
Oh my goodness. Somebody
all you
was
gotta
like,
do is be popular.
When Johnson ran for office, they were like, I thought Preckwinkle was the Cook County. And I was like, dude, it's multiple of them. It's not just one. Like you don't know about county government, or you don't understand how counties work, or the role of counties in state government. Like none of that.
No.
But that's a great example of how. But think about that. You broke that down from a county perspective, a state perspective, right? That's the same way America uses us too, because the Democratic Party rests on the backs of black people too.
Oh my
Without
God.
black people, the Democratic Party couldn't stand up. It
Right.
wouldn't exist.
And
Right.
I was ready to fight everybody when we were going through redistricting. So we sitting in the room. I'm the youngest person in the room with the Black Caucus, and I'm like, so where my people at? The Latino caucus and Black caucus were going at it about the redistricting in Chicago, because that would change how many seats we would have on the city council.
Yeah.
But the same thing was happening across the state. Like, we could pass cannabis, which so glad that we did, but we're not passing or getting the energy for any of the other pieces of legislation to make that industry legit and equitable. But we can't even stop prison gerrymandering. Right? So when I'm thinking, like, where are our collective priorities? You care about lead and water, but as soon as I start talking about, so that same governor that you are cheering for is allowing for our prisoners to be poisoned right now. But you happy that he gave you that money to recover from that torrential flood that you received. But those people, they're coming out of IDOC and they're coming back to Cook County and they're coming back to Inglewood. So they only matter when they're here. Like, we care about water politics when it's us.
They
like,
don't matter when they fucking here. And that's an identity conversation too.
Yeah.
Because we don't believe we matter. That is the design.
I didn't know I would receive such heat for standing up for prisoners and water.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? I thought I'm doing a good thing.
You're doing the
Water
Lord's
for
work.
all.
Mm-mm.
Water for all, right? It's a human right. You didn't get sentenced to be poisoned, right? You got sentenced for your crime. You shouldn't come back with lead poisoning.
Shit, some of them ain't even get sentenced for their crime.
Right.
Well, someone just in there.
Got sentenced for
Right.
their color.
You got sentenced for being around when we wanted to pick a nigga.
Fair.
No, that's 100% legit. So the question before we get out of here is essentially, how do we pivot, man? How do we find ways to pivot to a place of understanding with the end goal of being a place of power?
I think that's the precipice of this show, right?
sure
But
it
I think
is.
in order to do that, you must first identify who you are, right? I always
gotta
talk
know
to
your
you-
team.
I always talk to you about the ADOS movement, right? The
Mhm.
American Descendants of Slavery,
Mhm.
right? And since the inception of that movement, and shout out to Yvette Cornell and Antonio Moore, I always give them their credit, and I've been talking about it before it was being talked about, right? The value of that, even though they're leveraging it to push reparations, what it does is it clearly defines what it means to be an American descendant of slavery.
Of
That's
slaves.
more valuable than the reparations part to me.
Mhm.
It clearly defines it, right?
Mhm.
But the pushback against it is niggas don't like the word slave attached to the reality of your existence. How wild is that?
Because somebody in the comments earlier said that we can't deal with the truth because we too comfortable with the illusions and the lies.
Yeah.
Like that, man, fuck. I don't give a fuck you like the word or not. That's what it is. Look around. Look around.
There's no easy birth, right?
Nah, hell no.
You go from
Regardless, what up, bro?
What's in front of you, trusting what people say that you like,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And then there are these opportunities to, like, wake up a little bit. But in that, then you have to reconcile, oh, I've been wrong. Like, I've been sending people off. Or it's safer just to be like, I'm gonna stay over here and just go with the flow instead of continue to peel back the layers, self-correct, discern, care a little bit more. I care because I have a clock. My grandmother's name is written on the bottom, Carrie Parker, and her handwriting wasn't very strong. Left Plaquemine Parish, Louisiana, came up here for access to a better life and a better education. When she passed at 103, I went back to see, like, how many town massacres had my grandmother had to experience. Still fell in love, still had multiple children, pictures of her smiling and enjoying herself, and her advocacy work. She never wanted to emulate white America. Like, her only prayer was peace be still. Like, she's just happy to be alive, and she's going to do her best with what it is that she has in front of her. And I take that very seriously. To have had the opportunity to go from a grandmother with a 4th grade education to having a PhD, being able to teach at a collegiate level, being able to write a textbook that is something comparable and can be in competition with. So I'm like, where are the inroads? So with education, we so mad about the history books, let's write one. And not just write one, but also get on the local school council. Also, get on some of the other boards so we can move and mobilize some of these resources, because this is chess, not checkers. Where you are absolutely matters. We do have to sit on boards. You do have to hold board seats. You got to be able to give away money. You do have to network a little bit. Like, we have work to do.
So maybe this is the difference between the micro and the macro, or how we look at the conversation, right? Salute to all of the letters before your name, the degrees, all that's dope, right? But grandma raised you, right? Grandma had an input in raising you. What was your perspective of your grandma's level of intellect, the one with the fourth grade average education?
Extremely intelligent, because she ended up with children that went to college. My mother had his master's, right? So it was a progression of, I need to put my children in a position that they have more options.
So I asked that on purpose, right? I don't know what grade my grandmother finished, to be honest. I'd be hard pressed to believe it was high school, you know what I mean? Brilliant woman, right? A lot of I live in a community, I grew up in not a very transient community. And the houses were like the first homes built. Chicago State community, actually, right? Those were first built after World War II from the GI Bill, all black people. Them families is 3-4 generations in there now. They ain't leaving that shit, right? And because my grandmother was one of the first houses, all of those people around her are like first generation. You know, we got real relationships. The relationships are very deep rooted. All them old women is fucking brilliant. They all had a conscious understanding of family. They all move very differently, and they all produce children that seemingly have more access to America than they did. But in truth, none of those children have yet to achieve what they achieved. Right? Every generation since my grandfather, somebody has had to live in my grandfather's house. It ain't nobody else's house that we can leverage like that. Nobody else has built anything like it. You understand what I'm saying? We've not laid down any. I'm only saying this in the sense of Donald Trump is the front runner as a fucking felon. George Bush Jr. was elected as a cokehead. This nigga couldn't get a job at the post office. Donald Trump can't get a job at the post office today. I get it, right? But for me, the bigger picture isn't mastering that system in a more perfect way. It's exiling our ideas and our system to ourselves. Back to the goddamn Indian conversation. They got Dunkin' Donuts. And grandma worked there overnight. I go because I get coffee from Dunkin' Donuts. Grandma be in that motherfucker.
Something's wrong with you.
It's the truth.
I do not like Dunkin' Donuts sometimes.
So do Cousin Larry, so do Uncle Bob, so do Mr. Summer Mayor, whatever her name might be. You know what I mean? Everybody fucking here at Dunkin' Donuts. Right? It's a very simple concept. We making donuts.
We buy the donuts, though.
We buy the donuts. Surely, we do. I'm not knocking that. But we're old enough to remember Chicago that didn't have a Dunkin' Donuts on every corner. I remember finding that Dunkin' Donuts was a rarity.
A Dunkin' Donuts was a cue for the kind of community that you were in.
I could rock with that. But now they're every 6 corners. They're more abundant than corner stores.
I hate Dunkin' Donuts.
Right? My point is that they found the industry, they leveraged that industry, and they've grown wealth out of said industries. The Somalians, they got parking lots. Right? We can go down the line. People, communities, ethnic groups own industry. It's not accessing more access to government, more access to grants, more access to college. I have the argument all the time. Asians are the highest achieving students in most school systems. Where the fuck are they in corporate? They're not there because they're doing your nails. Because it's bread there. We can insulate ourselves just through this one skill set, right? But I always make the analogy, right? I live on 50th and Evans. On 51st and Cottage Grove, there's a strip mall. The first is a beauty supply store owned by the Koreans. The very next store is some kind of phone shop shit, I don't know. That's corporate,
And it's
right?
a jerk spot.
That ain't no jerk, not on this mall. The next spot is Shark's Chicken, that's the Arabs, right? The very next spot to that is some kind of gyro place, also Arabs, right? The very next spot to that is the Nails. The very next spot to that is Walgreens.
Oh, okay. I'm thinking about a laundromat. Got it.
Right? Not one goddamn thing in that whole strip mall is black nothing. Right? the Arab chicken people, the Korean beauty people, whatever the other ethnicity that do the nails, some kind of Asian something. Although they've been on the same strip of land for at least 20 years, because I've been there 20 years, there's no intermingling. I ain't never seen the nail lady get hungry enough to go get some fucking chicken from Sharks. I don't spend money with y'all. All I'm doing is pirating resources from this community. I go back to where the fuck I live. I just recently found out where the Arabs live in Chicago, because I didn't even know. It's amazing how much y'all be in my fucking community. I don't even know where y'all's is. They pirate the shit. They don't spend. They take. And then they go back and they build their shit. I don't give a fuck. I don't even know if they're getting degrees.
Yeah.
I had a conversation with a Palestinian the other day who's a corner store nigga, right? He just got off a fucking murder charge. I'm sure he's a multi-millionaire selling goddamn hot Cheetos, chips, and cheese. It's just how we look at it.
Shout out to Emerald Green.
It's just, we have to change our perspective. Them people have an understanding of their identity. We don't need access to your game through your rules. We just need power. And if we get that, we can force our hand. We're not trying to do that. And in turn, what we're doing is keep fighting each other because we only live by their rules. Which is why, and I so appreciate it, and you are extremely articulate and very intelligent, and I appreciate you being here, right? Because you can have the conversation. And it's not an attack on your person, right? But that is the dynamic. We're very unserious. You can't challenge anybody. Because the minute you challenge the idea that I have, what you've done is, like you said, we're scared. We don't want to pull up the layers.
Yeah.
You've threatened my whole being. And if we're always operating in that space like a fucking child, right, then we're never going to grow shit.
Yeah, I often say, and I think there's certainly a duality that needs to exist there, but I often say, like, are we talking about reimagining our existence, or are we talking about trying to figure out how to play these white people's game better? And it's still going to be their game at the end of the day. But there absolutely is some duality. Like, while you are where you are, you need to do the best you can with that. But I'm saying we also need to be reimagining something completely different.
Yeah, there's certain things that I've given, I don't say given up, but forfeited.
Mm-hmm.
Where I work, like who I sell my time to,
Mm-hmm.
and the products and brands that I choose to buy.
Mm-hmm.
At the very least, has to have some ethic that is connected to who it is that I am.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to support brands and businesses that overtly oppress my people.
Mm-hmm.
I will go out of my way to find who you are and not help you make money.
Mm-hmm.
I am willing to also forfeit my social capital in doing so.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of notoriety, even in our community, comes from what is on you.
Right.
What's on you says how I can use you,
Right.
how valuable you are,
Right.
and if I stand next to you, I shine a little brighter.
Mm-hmm.
So I've had to find clever ways of saying, all right, I don't have the bells and whistles, I don't have the car that you have, but I know why I don't have it, and I know why I'm not buying and I'm not going, but how do I help my people see me as valuable and erase what it is that you've been manipulated, marketed to
believe.
When you look at how marketing classes are taught, it is scary.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
it is literally to control you. How do I convince this person to
I'm a marketing
willingly,
major. I am.
yeah,
I'm so smart.
willingly give me their money and go bankrupt?
Right.
How do I get this person to believe being in debt is being wealthy? How do I get them to hold on to that so much so that they pass it down
Right.
to their child? How do I do that?
Right.
And then they figure it out, and it just keeps going.
Because they empower those of us who reinforce those messages. I just told y'all on the way over here, I was listening to podcasts, right? And this is not a knock on Joe Budden, but Joe Budden is the biggest podcast in the black space. I don't even know what Van Cleef is. Do you know what that is?
Not really.
I don't know what it
I know
is.
the
It must
name,
be
but-
some kind of brand name or
Yeah.
something. I'm thinking it's like, I thought it was clothes, so I don't know what Van Cleef is.
Yeah, I know the name.
Point is, he was like, I was in the Van Cleef store, whatever they say, I don't know, right? And he was like, "Ooh, this shit was expensive," right? And he was like, "I could go somewhere else to a jewelry." And I was like, "Man, I was looking for this Van Cleef." That day. He's like, "Oh man, we got a Van Cleef drawer."
Oh, I think those little bracelets that got the little four clover things. I think that's what those.
Whatever it is, I don't know. Point is, the jeweler makes the same exact product,
Yeah.
right? And for a much cheaper price.
Yeah.
I'll
I mean,
do
we
it.
have,
What up, though?
But he responds and says,
Hey,
"I
Boosie.
can't buy it from there, though. I have to buy it from Van Cleef."
yeah, it's this sick, twisted, like Louis Vuitton bags. Each bag, doesn't matter what size, each bag costs $200 to produce. Every single bag. But you will pay $4,500 for it. Why? Because that $4,500 says something about you.
Yeah,
now,
what we find our value.
Yeah, if we didn't value a $4,500 bag, you probably wouldn't buy it.
But you don't value the $4,500 bag, right? And this is what I mean when I say get to identity, right? Because we don't understand the value of our own humanity, because the very system that creates us, and I'm saying creating us on purpose, is designed to keep us away from understanding our humanity. And when you don't understand your humanity, it's very difficult to love. So what you do is you buy the bag for attention, because you're not being loved, you don't feel love,
Yeah.
you can't accept love, right? What you do is you die on the hill of AKA and what sisterhood looks like, because you don't really genuinely feel sisterhood. You know what I mean? It's all those things. This is a goddamn therapy session that you have with your boyfriend. It's the same. Your approach to the world is the same in your household.
Yeah.
We got to go. Let's leave it there for now. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. Thank y'all so very, very much for all of y'all's input. Mila, thank you so much for coming. Thank you for taking the time. We appreciate you. We got to do it again. Not so long next time. I mean, not so much time in between next time.
Yeah.
It's been a while since you stopped through. So, but thank you so much, man.
I'm gonna bring you a plant a friend.
No.
No more plants.
No, we cool. We got some more greenery in here. We can stand.
Yeah, I wanna like donate to the cause.
Donate to the cause. We accept the love.
Yeah, like a fern.
I don't even know what that is, but I love it.
Give me a dictionary. We could use a little bit more greenery, a little bit more life in here.
Yeah.
But no, seriously, thank you so much for coming out, man. If you wanted to take us some time to tell the people where they can keep up with you, what you got going on.
Yeah, so check me out every week, Chicago News Weekly, cnwmedia.com. I write Cannabis Corner and Living Chicago. I'm all things green. Listen to me every Wednesday on WBON 5:30 with Atiba and Darlene on climate and culture. So if you want to step your culture game up when it comes to like changes in the environment, that's every Wednesday. And then check me out on the Corner Convo podcast every Saturday. Every Tuesday it drops. Corner Convo Pod on all social media. That's me.
Busy.
Yes.
We coming to rock with y'all on the 10th.
I think we're gonna be on there on the 10th in August.
Yep.
Yeah, that's gonna be dope. Shout out to P.I. man doing all the hard work behind the camera. Shout out to Ron Rilla and E4O as well. For 2, I'm Herb. Y'all be good to each other. Peace.
Assalamu alaikum.
Look, cartoon is so funny.
You out of there? And we appreciate you.
Absolutely.